On February 26, 2023, several tornadoes impacted the Oklahoma City metro area. This is not a picture of that tornado. However, this is a presentation conducted by InfoWeather. Let's talk about how this came to be. On February 21st, the Storm Prediction Center said that there was a 15% chance of severe weather that continued throughout the rest of the next couple days. As we head to the 23rd, that was increased to 30% chance of severe weather, and then enhanced risk 3 days ahead of time. From there, we saw the main threat was going to be wind, significant chance of wind, and then the tornado threat gradually increased. And as we got to the morning of the 26th, we saw that there was a 10% plus significant chance in Oklahoma City and a 5% chance of tornado in Norman, Oklahoma. Then the next phase, as we got closer to the storm itself, mesoscale discussions and tornado watches were issued. Beginning at 7:02 p.m. Central Time, a mesoscale discussion said that we need a watch in central Oklahoma. That was subsequently issued at 7:35 p.m. when we saw 70% chance of 2 tornadoes, 90% chance of severe winds, and that indeed did occur in the area. Another mesoscale discussion issued within 20 minutes of that weather watch being issued said that intense winds and a possible tornado could occur in Oklahoma City around 9 p.m. Shortly thereafter, about half an hour later at 8:20 p.m., the National Weather Service in Norman said that there will be a higher threat of damaging wind and tornadoes in that central Oklahoma area, generally between Oklahoma City and somewhere between Norman and the border. The National Weather Service then said that there's 30 minutes until the storms begin to impact western Oklahoma City. And then at 9 o'clock, they launched a special weather balloon into the air, which we'll talk about here shortly, and then another mesoscale discussion as the night went on. This balloon was launched within 15 minutes of a tornado impacting the exact environment that this measured, which is absolutely insane that somebody was able to be there. It's also even more insane when we talk about a few of the parameters that this sounding them measured. First off, the SIN, or SIN H as it's labeled here, was nearly 300 joules per kilogram at the surface, which is absolutely wild. Normally, if you have SIN much above like 50 or 100, you're going to have trouble overcoming that in order to produce severe weather. And in fact, we had a very severe weather occur. That cap was eroded away relatively quickly. That was aided probably by that 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity, over 1,000 meters squared per second squared, which is just off the charts in terms of anything that we have seen measured before. And of course, all the other parameters, shear, dew point, well within the range of what we could expect for storms. I always issue alerts for storms in Norman, and you can get that by texting at SoonerWX to 81010. Beginning Friday afternoon, I said severe weather was likely. The main threat is wind, tornadoes, and hail are possible. By the time we got to Saturday night, I reiterated that severe weather likely between 9 o'clock and midnight, extreme winds, and hail and tornadoes possible again. Sunday morning, the day of the event, I said the main threat is still wind. We could see embedded tornadoes, and I narrowed that down that time period to 9 to 10 p.m. And then Sunday afternoon around 1 o'clock, I said extreme winds, possible tornadoes, going to happen by 10 p.m. that evening. As we got into the thick of things, around 8:18, around 8:20, that time frame, I said you're going to see gusts around 90 miles an hour, embedded tornadoes, and again, 9 to 10 p.m. is when we're looking at. At 8:49, the severe thunderstorm warning was issued for campus. At 9:09, I said 10 minutes till it begins to impact campus, and that actually is the time that the tornado began. At 9:13, I said the tornado warning will likely come here shortly because it was evident on radar that that would be the case, and I said to seek shelter now. At 9:17, the tornado warning was issued at 9:15. 2 minutes later, I sent out a text alert doing so, which from what I was told, the university did not say a single thing during the course of this event. At 9:21, I said get into good shelter. Shortly thereafter, we were able to say that the storm threat had moved out of the Norman area and on to later things. I do want to say my main argument here is that the warning has been well warned. Sure, as we'll see here shortly, the tornado touched down before the tornado warning was issued, but the watches, the outlooks, the discussions, the social media, the everything else was stellar by the National Weather Service, myself at InfoWeather. All of these things were perfect in terms of warning, and people should have known, based off of all of the communications material released, that even if there was not a tornado, those winds would in fact be very devastating and tornado-like to the extent that you need to seek shelter even due to those storms. And as we saw at 8:46, the severe thunderstorm was issued for Norman. At 9:30, or 9:05 rather, that severe thunderstorm warning began to mention the potential of a tornado being on the ground. At 9:15, the tornado warning was issued for Norman itself. Severe thunderstorm warning refreshed at 9:20. At 9:25, tornado warning then moved to the east of Norman as the storm had moved past Norman at that point. Then the tornado warning continuing for Shawnee and McLeod at 9:36. We'll talk about all those tornadoes here shortly. The Norman EF2 tornado had the following specs, I guess. So again, that severe thunderstorm warning was issued at 8:46 p.m. At 9:05 p.m., so around 20 minutes later, they said a tornado was possible. 4 minutes after that, the tornado touched down, and then it took 6 more minutes for the tornado warning to be issued. Number one, the first time we could really see the tornado on radar was around 9:13 p.m., maybe 9:12 p.m., something like that. So we didn't have a lot of time to issue the tornado warning, and it takes about a minute or two to issue the warning. And so in terms of being able to recognize it on radar, they were stellar in issuing that warning. At 9:18 was when we originally thought that the tornado touched down, but upon looking at the damage survey, we pushed that back to 9:09, the National Weather Service did. And then at 9:35 is when the tornado lifted in Stella, Oklahoma. It was on the ground for 26 miles, 400 yards wide at its widest point, and caused 12 injuries and no deaths, thankfully. There were other things going on in Oklahoma City, as I mentioned, the EF1 occurring in far western Oklahoma City, as well as another EF1 in western Oklahoma City. Both of those around 105 to 110 miles an hour and lasting from 6 to 10 minutes. Neither of them absolutely insane, but certainly devastating and hitting areas nonetheless. That EF2 in Norman was actually the second tornado to form, and then the second EF1 I mentioned formed. Then from that same cell spawned the next two tornadoes, the EF1 near McLeod and the EF2 near Shawnee, heading further up into the north. Again, around 6 minute durations on those. Compare that to the Norman tornado, which was on the ground for 26 minutes. That's all for this update, I guess, on the storms that affected Oklahoma City. Stay safe, and for more information, of course, text at SoonerWX to 81010. Chris Dixon, InfoWeather Media.